to the RST Clothing Golden Era Superbike class, new for 2012 with ThundersportGB. Pole position is number 77, the championship leader, Lee Reevely, sponsored by E2E Solutions. Man's won quite a few ThundersportGB championships already and is well on his way to doing it again this season. Nice to see a number new entries on the grid for this round as Josh Daly lines up in second place. There's number 34, Chris Matthews is back with the ThundersportGB crew, and Angelo De Rosa out there on the Yamaha 750. Nice to have Angelo out there battling towards the front end. A couple of other riders to look out for, John Dieterman, Chris Norris. Always look out for Richard Blunt, number 13, who seems to get off to decent starts all the time. Green flag at the back though, we're ready to do business as all eyes are on number 77, Lee Reevely. Away from the line, he gets his Aprilia Melee up there, and there is Richard Blunt around the outside, number 13. Good start for Josh Daly also, but it looked like Chris Matthews who got off to the best possible start. These 750cc four-cylinder bikes from the 80s and 90s up against the 1000cc twins, and into Cascades goes Chris Matthews. Almost took the nose off the front of Josh Daly's bike. There's number 18, beautiful retro-looking Suzuki 500 out there. There is Chris Matthews on the more up-to-date Suzuki, the S-Rad, as Josh Daly slams it up the inside into Shell Oils and uses the banking to almost plonk him back down again, almost like a velodrome on a bike there as he comes out into Britain's, and Chris Matthews follows with Lee Reevely in third place. This class invented this year by Dave Stewart for ThundersportGB, and we did have Keith Smith as the potato head regular part, but unfortunately due to a little accident that he had while working in Mexico, he's still up in hospital bed fixing all his broken bones, and hopes to come and spectate to 1 or 2 rounds later on in the year, but certainly won't be taken to the saddle of the bike anytime soon. We send him all the best, he's the potato head, but he'll be back. Of course, he better get ready to start filming for Toy Story 4 next March. There is Josh Daly, the race leader, number 88, and Lee Reevely moves up to second place, number 77 ahead of Chris Matthews. Chris back with ThundersportGB, and former Street Fighter runner, of course. Angelo De Rosa is in the background in 5th place, chasing down, he's at John Dieterman, leads, and Angelo, despite not getting off to the best of starts, is lapping in the early 49s. Well, I say that, it's what he was lapping in during qualifying, so if he can get back down to those. Oh, and there's a big crash in the background there into Cascades as we look at Josh Daly, Lee Reevely and Chris Matthews going through. I believe we've lost 1 or 2 riders there, and we'll try and get a vision of those shortly. I can tell you they're going through the sector times anyway. The 2 riders that we seem to have gone missing, and Nick Williamson, number 6 on the Honda FP1, and Phil Page, number 94, Phil, a regular Thundersports competitor on the ZX7R. So I do hope that they're okay, because that's a really quick way to be coming off at Cascades. Meanwhile, the leaders head into Hizzies. Josh Daly is such a talented young rider, and he's not quite old enough to move into the Sportsman Elite category as yet, but we understand he's got a 600 in the garage, and they're the 2 riders that I mentioned in question, and it's lovely to see that they are both up and okay and walking away from that incident down at Cascades. So good news there. Back at the front though, Josh Daly it is that leads ahead of the championship leader, Aprilia, number 77 of Lee Reevely, and there is Chris Matthews, number 34. Sponsored by Moto 46, and the power of that Aprilia going to the front, but Josh Daly will try and sneak back up the inside into Old Hall Corner, and does so. Lee Reevely had preempted that coming, so it's going to be a battle of wits at the front here between Lee and Josh. Lee's certainly got the power advantage on the Melee compared to Josh, but Josh straight up the inside again. The more nimble Kawasaki up the inside into Cascades and down towards Island Bend. Chris Matthews just out of shot, second behind these guys, as around the outside, and then giving himself the inside line into Shell Oils goes Josh Daly. Josh isn't going to get a break though, that's going to be coming for him here. Once Lee Reevely gets out front, get himself back front for half a lap or so, it's going to be a little bit easier for him just to edge away from Josh Daly due to that power advantage. Of course, he's got a grunt out of the corners as well. Josh Daly has got to do all the work in the corners and on the brakes, and eventually it will wear him down. Lee Reevely goes up the inside into his ease. Josh Daly will have a bite back for sure on the exit, but this is a good chance now for Lee Reevely just to break away a little bit from Josh Daly. Further back, there's the old lovely Duckham's colours of Paul Ashton's Honda 750, and number 55 there is Rob Garland. Nice to see Rob out there. Best haircut in the paddock. Number 8 is Michael Simmons on the Yamaha 850. So a number of new riders in the class for this round here at Oulton Park. There is of course no previous lap record with it being a new class for 2012. And the sponsors, RST Motorcycle Clothing, of course you'll see many riders with the RST leathers on. You can, for further information, you can obviously visit their website, www.rst-moto.com/racedept. But it's Lee Reevely that leads this race now from Josh Daly. A bit further back, that's number 70, Andrew Dummill, up ahead of 62, Jason Dixon. They are fighting for 15th and 16th place at the moment, so the last of the points. There's Chris Matthews with the traditional 34 on the Suzuki. Reevely in the points should be added. He's got a 140-point lead over Nick Williamson at the moment. Nick Williamson, who fell on lap 1, isn't going to pick up any points here, so that means that Richard Blunt has the chance to move into second place overall in the championship. And you can just see Richard Blunt in the background there, number 13 behind number 67, Matt Wilde, and number 2, which is Chris Norris. Chris Norris, a regular in the Sound of Thunder class a few years ago with ThundersportGB, so nice to see Chris with us out here. Back at the front, and just as we predicted, once Lee Reevely got a little bit of clear air, he's able to use that power advantage and just edge away now from Josh Daly, who's going to have company in the form of Chris Matthews in a moment. And as riders make their way down in towards Lodge, that's 22 and 41, it's Lee Powell and Paul Daly. Paul Daly out there on his Yamaha, of course, uncle of Josh Daly, who's currently in second position. Just behind Paul Daly is Charlie Flett. Charlie, great guy in the paddock, and he was part of the Sound of Thunder Championship last year, the Super Twins. He knows the racing very well, Lee Reevely. They're the three leaders. Lee Reevely just out of picture, ahead of Josh Daly and Chris Matthews. There was fifth place man, John Dieterman. We've not seen Angelo Doroni yet. He's having a bit of a lonely time. He's managed to pull away from John Dieterman on the Suzuki 500, just out at the top of the hilltop there. That's Angelo. He's got back into his 149s, but Chris and Josh are both lapping in the 48s, and Lee here on the red and black Aprilia lapping in the late 147s. On this lap here, he goes across the line, and Josh Daly just lost a bit of drive out of the final turn, and here comes Chris Matthews on the Suzuki S-Rad 750. What a revelation those bikes were when they first came onto the scene in British and World Superbikes during the 90s. Last lap flag is out as we see Richard Blunt going through ahead of number 67, Matt Wilde. They're just inside the top 10. He's up ahead of Paul Ashton, Rob Garland, Andrew Duncan and Brian Spreadborough. Adam Kaufman's also inside the points as we see that wonderfully coloured number 46 machine again at Paul's. And oh, we've got a faller on this last lap as they head into Old Hall Bend, and that's number 8. That's Michael Simmons, who's gone down, and he's just put his thumbs up. Yep, I'm fine, no worries, but you can go and pick the bike up if you like, as that's on the last lap. But that's the end of his race. Meanwhile, at the front here, well, despite the early exchanges between him and Josh, he's been on trouble, but this is the scrap for second place now, and it's getting quite close between Chris Matthews and Josh Daly. Chris has used the power advantage to his advantage into Hizzy's chicane. There's Angelo De Rosa on the Yamaha. What a lovely looking machine that is. Number 157, of course, the Wrexham Riders' traditional number. He's going to pick up 4th place as things stand. Lee Reevely exits Lodge Corner and is going to take 25 points. He's now just coming up to put a lap on number 22. Lee Powell, his mate, they share the same garage, I believe. And across the line they go. Dave waves the flag. Lee takes the win. Chris Matthews is going to take 2nd place, number 34, and give himself 20 points. Meanwhile, Josh Daly takes 16 points ahead of Angelo De Rosa in 4th. John Dieterman on the Suzuki 500 has gone across the line in 5th place, and Chris Norris has just moved up ahead of Richard Blunt to take 6th place, but Richard Blunt should have moved up into the top 3 of the championship overall. There he is then, Lee Reevely, the winner in the middle, Chris Matthews to the left in 2nd, and Josh Daly on the right.
RST Motorcycle Clothing Golden Era Superbike 3rd place man Josh Daly. That was hard-fought race for you?
Yeah, the Golden Era Superbikes have better drive out corners and top speed. I just like get them on the brakes and corner speed.
Yeah, they didn't like the whippersnappers like chasing around their heels, but really good anyway, and that was really enjoyable to watch. Who do you want to thank, mate?
I'd like to thank PRF Engineering again, Ken and Kay, for paying back my tyre bill, my dad, Carl, Paul, and everyone else who's here supporting me this weekend.
Excellent, well done, Josh. Chris Matthews, 2nd place man. You hunted Josh down nicely, and you're putting in some fantastic lap times there, and I was really impressed with that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, he's I think he'll go a long way, young Josh. He's just done a race before hours, cleaned up, and now he's done that in hours, and he doesn't look like he's broke a sweat. They just hate the kids.
Yeah, well, of course, he'll move on to a 600 soon and leave us gentleman racers alone.
The old timers. Yeah. No, it's a pleasure to race with him. He's really good, and to do that on a 400, that's mega. That is really.
Yeah, I mean, he kept you and Lee honest, and but it was really enjoyable to watch. And I think that this particular championship is going to go from strength to strength. Have you got anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd mainly like to thank Philip Crowe from PCR Suspension Services. He set my bike up at Donington, suspension-wise. Made it absolutely perfect, and I haven't touched it since, so PCR Suspension, if anyone needs the bike setting up or a bit of expertise, Philip's your man.
Well done, Chris.
Thank you.
Top man. Winner, Lee Reevely. Well, you had to work for that one, and that was pretty warm, eh?
Yeah, no, obviously I didn't get a good start as usual, and to be honest I thought Chris was going to clear off because I know he's quick. I think he's running on a 2nd engine at the moment, so it's not as quick, the bike's not as quick as it could be, and it looked like I thought him and Josh were going to go, but I'm a bit more chilled out. I like to let my tyres make sure they're good and that, and then start to sort of set the laps, and yeah, they were hard to pass, and it was a good race. I enjoyed it. That's what we race for. But once I got in the lead, I tried to sort of maintain a 2nd gap, and I didn't know who it was. I assumed it was Josh coming back, but obviously Chris got his hammer down. So
well, you got I think it was 147s you got down to, which once you got into your rhythm, which I mean that's a new lap record established here for the first time in Golden Era Superbikes. But you must be pleased with that.
To be honest, that's exactly the lap time I was aiming for. Kind of trying to work out, because it's a bit hard coming back from 190 horsepower to 130 to try and judge how quick I should be going, but I thought 147s, I'd be happy with that this weekend. I've done that, so yeah, I'm really pleased.
Really well done. Have you got anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, everybody as usual, the team, Stuart, Jackie, Mum and Dad, and Griff from Performance, Brilliant Performance, and Tony at Motorcourse. Thank you very much.
Well done, Lee.
Thank you very much.
It all started back in 1976. Oulton's, the original gold. We've always stayed ahead of the competition by keeping our clients ahead of the competition. Whether you're a professional racer or simply looking for the perfect driving experience, Oulton's shock absorbers offer superior performance, safety, and comfort. We are the cutting edge of racing technology. And with over 30 years of experience and a never-ending flow of innovations, we intend to keep pole position. Our dedicated staff works side by side with the greatest racing teams in the world to deliver suspension without suspense. Simply put, Oulton's shocks are state-of-the-art for motorcycles, cars, four wheels, and snowmobiles. The number of fans and customers are growing, and the demand for excellent service is increasing. To be in the forefront of advanced suspension takes passion, a passion for perfection in every detail, in every part. With more than 200 World Championship titles in racing, we boast with the very latest technological advancements in both conventional and electronic suspension systems. Our world-leading product lines, TTX and CES, are the result of this devotion to detail and innovation. All products undergo numerous tests to ensure optimal function and quality. To us, striving for excellence is common sense. The future of high-performance suspension is here. Join us.
ThundersportGB, it's time for the RST Clothing Golden Era Superbikes. If you cast your mind back 20 or so years, back to the days of Foggy versus Russell, etc. Well, these bikes are back out on circuit, and the Golden Era Superbike class new for 2012. We just saw on pole there, championship leader Lee Reevely. There's been no stopping him so far. Second on the grid on the Kawasaki, Josh Daly, 88. Third on the grid, it's a welcome back to ThundersportGB for number 34, Chris Matthews on the SRAD Suzuki. And fourth place, Angelo De Rosa, the rider from Wrexham that we saw in GP1 for a number of years. He's out there on a Yamaha YZF 750, and what a pretty picture it is. It's a much healthier looking grid today for the RST Clothing Golden Era Superbikes, and into turn one there at 3 abreast as they went through. Lee Reevely has been, as I mentioned, irrepressible at the front of the ThundersportGB Championship so far. No one's even been able to come close to him. As usual, there's a good start from number 13. Richard Blunt, he always gets away from the line relatively well. And a number of great bikes going through there, like the old Duckham's colours going through, I believe it was. And there's Josh Daly, number 88, around the outside, and Island Bend and into Shell Oils, really powering that Kawasaki through there. Here comes the grunt though of that, number 77, Aprilia. Downhill attempt to move into Britain chicane, as I mentioned in race 1 in the GP1. It's very tight through there, and if you were to try and go up the inside, the other riders just wouldn't see you and there'd be carnage. Think back to BSB and Josh Brooks a few years ago, and look what happened in that race. A bit further back then, there's John Dieterman on the Suzuki 500. Oh, and that's Richard Blunt, who was up in the top 3 earlier on. He's gone grass tracking. He does rejoin, but a lot further back. He's probably down in about 12th or 13th place now, but that's not good news for Richard Blunt. And look at this lead that these two are getting already. Number 88, Josh Daly, young rider from Wigan, who started out in ThundersportGB day 1 when it was first introduced. Out there on Kawasaki, leading Lee Reevely. Third place is John Dieterman, and then Chris Matthews on the Suzuki SRAD, sporting his familiar, and of course Kevin Schwantz's familiar, number 34 on the Suzuki there. Josh Daly goes through and into Old Hall Corner. down through the avenue and into Cascades, one of the better corners on the British calendar. Cascades, a lovely long sweeping left-hander, and you can just wind on the power, and there's that dark green, wonderful looking Yamaha YZF 750 there of Angelo De Rosa's. He's up into the top 4 or 5. Angelo, I should just point out, a very handy rider here at Oulton Park. We first bumped into him 3 or 4 years ago here. A lovely guy in the paddock, always got a smile on his face, very competitive. He didn't have the best of years last year at ThundersportGB in the GP1 class, but certainly out there having some fun in the Golden Era Superbikes. It's Josh Daly that leads. Josh, a rider still learning his trade, really, chattering front end as he heads into Hizzy chicane. And Lee Reevely just happy to sit there at the moment. Josh Daly doesn't pose a threat to him in the championship. Reevely's got something like a 140-point lead already, as we just see there, number 58, Brian Spreadborough on the Aprilia going through. He's just up inside the points at the moment, and here comes Lee Reevely. Well, pretty much everything I've just said, forget it, because he wants the win. He's having a look up the inside. Just in the background there in 3rd place, the man, or the Welshman that lives in Wrexham, Angelo De Rosa, the Italian name. It's a long story, folks. He's in 3rd place, and Lee Reevely, every time they get onto a straight, he seems to have the better of Josh Daly, but Josh is hanging him out to dry, under braking and through the corners, and the power of that Aprilia coming to the front, and that was so close there. Lee Reevely almost wiping the front end off Josh Daly's Kawasaki, but Josh not afraid at all. Straight up the inside again into Cascades, and as they make their way up into Island Bend, the power of that Aprilia is there again, but around the outside, that is big and brave from Josh Daly. Let me tell you, Island Bend, if you've ever been around there on a bike, is seriously quick. Well, Josh Daly learned his trade, of course, in the Aprilia Super Teams, but this is fantastic from the youngster from Wigan, number 88, Pop Sport Racing, of course, and here with his family, regular and loyal to ThundersportGB. Lee Reevely himself, he's a multi-champion in ThundersportGB, sponsored by E2E Solutions, and he just has the advantage again as they head into Hizzy chicane, and this is, I can tell you already, even though we're only in the early stages, without a shadow of a doubt, the best race that we've had in RST Clothing Golden Era Superbike so far. There's Richard Blunt going through, number 13. That's number 67, Matt Wildy, on the Triumph 955. A quick update, of course, from a rider that can't be with us, Keith Smith. Smithy, Mr. Potato Head, as Lee Reevely pulls away at the front there. What a lead he's got. Josh Daly must have made a mistake somewhere out on circuit, but Keith Smith had a bit of an accident over in Mexico. I'm pleased to say that he is alive and well. He's a bit worse for wear, though. I don't think we're likely to see him at Snetterton next round. 26 stitches in his head, 10 in his elbow, broken cheekbone, dislocated and broken shoulder in 3 places, broken ribs, broken neck in 2 places, smashed the disc to pieces. Had one removed and a plastic one put in, vertebrae screwed. It is not brilliant for Keith Smith at the moment, but he said he'll try and get back on a bike in a couple of weeks' time for Snetterton. We'll hopefully see him in and around the paddock, and maybe we'll get Sid to catch an interview with him. Last lap flag out in the RST Golden Era Superbikes, and Lee Reevely here has an unassailable lead, and it looks as though that Angelo De Rosa's going to pinch 2nd place off Josh Daly and comfortably move up and get himself 20 points, and that'll give him a good chance of moving into the top 10 of the championship if he can keep that up all weekend. Chris Matthews is just outside the podium places in 4th, with John Dieterman 5th. Paul Ashton on the Honda 750 is in 6th place, number 46 ahead of Chris Norris. Richard Blunt, Nick Williamson and Jason Dixon makes up the top 10. There's Angelo De Rosa on the dark green Yamaha. And just heading over the hilltop, that is number 2, Chris Norris. A rider that we're used to seeing. That's not the right route, I should just add, as he goes through Knickerbrook. He takes the run off. But a rider we saw in Super Twins and Sound of Thunder back at the opening of Thundersport a few years ago. But around the final corner, here he comes. Well, I've lost count of how many wins this is, but across the line, Dave prepares the checkered flag, and Lee Reevely wins at Oulton Park. It's a good result for Angelo De Rosa. Started 4th on the grid, takes 2nd, and Josh Daly there, hats off, sir. 3rd place ahead of Chris Matthews on the Suzuki. Welcome back, Chris. John Dieterman collected 5th, and Paul Ashton was confirmed in 6th spot. And on the podium, there you see a mixture of ages. Lee in the middle with Angelo to the left and Josh to the right. Standings then, well, look at that lead for Lee Reevely ahead of Richard Blunt, who moves into second, Nick Williamson third, Rob Wilson, Jason Dixon and Josh Daly.
RST Motorcycle Clothing, Golden Era Superbikes, third place, Josh Daly. Josh, you've got to be happy with that.
Yeah, it's a great achievement to be doing that on a 400, especially when I did a 1:48.2, I think it was. So yeah, happy over the moon with it.
Yeah, that is a very, very good time, to be fair. Who do you want to thank, Josh?
Yeah, I'd like to thank MTC Exhausts, PRF Engineering, 151's Compression Tops, my dad Carl and Paul Rennie for getting the 400 singing this weekend.
All I can say is everybody better watch out when you get on a 600.
Yeah, I don't want to be too big-headed about it.
Well done, mate. Angelo De Rosa. Well, how nice to have you up here on the podium. Very well done, second place. After a couple of disappointments today, you must be really chuffed with that.
Yeah, well, I'm well happy, Sid. Obviously, it's nice to be back here, first time this year with you. And yeah, obviously, GP1 didn't go as planned, but obviously on a good friend of mine, Anthony Pace's 750 there. First time riding it yesterday. Obviously, can't complain. So, obviously, big thanks to all my team and obviously my sponsors, my main sponsors, Olympic Labels, Lee Good. I wouldn't be here without him. I'm a new sponsor on board, Steve Colclough from D-Tech and Colin Rescue. And like I say, big thanks to everybody who's here, Anthony Pace, Dave Williams, and everybody else who's helped me.
So the $64,000 question is does Golden Era Superbikes hold a future for Angelo De Rosa?
Well, I've got to be honest with you, it was a fun ride on that today because obviously we got the big bike in the big class, but I've got to be honest with you, it's great racing and one of the best this season anyway. And obviously Lee's obviously always up there and Josh, and it's nice to be here and put a good performance in, especially when the sun's out. So we'll go back now and regroup and go from there.
Good man, very well done, mate.
Cheers, Ed. Thanks.
Lee Reevely, championship leader. You've got to be chuffed. It's a great weekend, and all these double points and everything else. You're on a major charge now.
Yeah, I mean, I love this place. I never used to be quicker, and just a couple of years ago it clicked for me. And but you get your track specialists, like Angelo and people like that, who go, wow. So you always have a good race. But no, it's great weather, great racing. Josh keeps us all, in touch, and yeah, the kid's just crazy. So I can't imagine what he's going to be like on a bigger bike. And I look forward to seeing him. He's got to go national. He's really quick, really frightening. Frightens me. So yeah.
Well, because we need to keep this gentleman racing anyway and get these whippersnappers away. But yeah, and who would you like to thank, mate?
I'd like to thank everybody who helps me, the team, mum and dad, Stuart. I've got to say thanks to Greg, who's my mountain bike partner. He drags me out every weekend and has got me in shape, helped me lose 2 stone this year, which is obviously contributing to how well I'm going this year. So big thanks to him. Jackie and everybody else who helps me, thanks ever so much.
There's Thundersport Sid. It's carry on golfing here at Oulton Park. We'll be back after the break with the RLR Motorsports.com 600 Sportsman Elites.